Yung mga nag-positive sa ating Delta variant are actually people who has no history of travel, neither do they have histories of contacts with a confirmed positive Delta variant person who is an OFW or an ROF. Kaya base po dyan, masasabi po natin na lahat po yung nilabas ng Philippine Genomic Center na mga Delta variant cases natin dito ay we would say na local transmission po ito or community.
You just heard Dr. Mary Jean Loreche of DOH Region VII confirming that there may be what is now a local or worse, a community transmission of the Delta variant in the region. Cebu has 36 cases of the more transmissible variant with no established links to returning overseas Filipinos. Good evening, I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. Let's start with more residents in Cebu City opting to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Their local health department is fearing the worst, a community transmission of the Delta variant. Jem Avancenia has The Big Story.
Cebuanos hesitant to get vaccinated had a change of heart after 11 localities in the province were placed under MECQ due to a rapid rise in cases. These residents in Lapu-Lapu City lined up at a mobile vaccination service.
Mahin po na magpabaksin na lang yun.
Sir, okay lang sa inyo medyo taas ang pila, medyo igang, okay lang?
Okay lang, 1 taon lang, basta mahuman lang.
Just like the rest of the country, Cebu has been dealing with cases of the more contagious Delta variant. DOH Region VII Chief Pathologist Dr. Mary Jean Loreche said that of the 123 samples collected in the first week of July, 36 tested positive for the Delta variant. Loreche is now assuming the worst, a community transmission of Delta in the province.
Yung mga nag-positive sa ating Delta variant are actually people who has no history of travel, neither do they have histories of contacts with a confirmed positive Delta variant person who is an OFW or an ROF. Na lahat po yung nilabas ng Philippine Genomic Center na mga Delta variant cases natin dito ay we would say na local transmission po ito or community.
Loreche noted that the increase in COVID-19 cases in the region was due to its open borders, pandemic fatigue, and the public's violation of minimum health standards.
11 months tayo mahigit na naging MGCQ, ang mga tao kasi para bang nagkaroon na ng COVID fatigue and then very open ang ating mga borders. So nawala po masyado yung pagiging stricto nila sa kanilang mga sarili. Hetong mga may bakuna na, no, lalong-lalo na yung medyo mga kabataan pa. Nakalimutan nila na ang to be completely vaccinated is not a license for them not to be being in a mass gathering.
According to the Cebu City Health Office, it doesn't help that some are still hesitant to get vaccinated.
The reason, we do not know, or yung marinig nila ba sa radyo, yung mga kapitbahay nila, kung ano-ano lang yung marinig nila. But with regards to the output dito sa Cebu, I think it's improving.
Ibones likewise revealed that Cebu City is in need of medical practitioners as they combat the COVID-19 surge.
I hope na yung mga medical practitioners, doctors, nurses, medtech, midwives, hopefully yung nag-swear sila na they should do service for the people. I hope nga ito na talaga yung panahon.
For News 5, Jem Avancenia, we are One News.
Now to tell us more about their efforts to fight another COVID-19 case surge, we have with us on the line Joel Garganera. He is head of Cebu City's Emergency Operations Center. Mr. Garganera, welcome to The Big Story.
Yeah, good evening po.
Good evening po. You heard the DOH Region VII saying this could be local, this could be community transmission of Delta variant. But what are all the other factors that could be contributing and driving this current surge in Cebu?
Well, as early as June, when we realized that there is an increase in the number of cases on a daily basis, kami dito sa Emergency Operations Center, we assume already that it's Delta variant because yung mga kaso namin, it's really spread out, no? It's really spread out. And then yung age, it really knows no age bracket, no? So, yun nga, yung sinabi nga ni Dr. Dean Ureche, na it's been like over almost a year nag-MGCQ kami. And then it seems like people start to feel and act normally. And then until this one, recently, yung second surge namin, yung February, March, at saka April, we have more cases compared to the first surge. No, we have around 11,000 cases compared to last year 8,000. But yung difference is yung last year, yung 3 months, it cost us 672 deaths. No, unlike yung sa second surge, we might have like more than 4,000 cases, but yung deaths namin, we just limited it to 162. No, because we know already the variant, the virus, so the frontliners know already how to treat it, and yung mga tao naman very cooperative. But just recently, this third surge namin, talagang mabilis, and then it's the type of patient that arrive in the hospital na they easily deteriorate, no? Nagpag-rest din yung case nila 2 to 3 days. Unlike nung una, it will reach something like 7 to 10 days, no, before lumala yung kaso. But right now, yun nga, border control natin, medyo lax na. And then yung mga tao, yung behavior nila parang normal na. So it took a while for us to revert back to where we are, where we should be before. No? So yun ang mga nangyari.
In the meantime, Mr. Garganera, kamusta po on the other side of the situation? How is the capacity and the capability of our frontliners and the public health sector in general in Cebu to deal with the surge?
Yeah, it's really a challenge. You know what? In Cebu City, 182, just for today, 182 frontliners, yung mga doctors, nurses, medtech, yung lahat, no, got positive, no, for the last 14 days, no, 182. Alam mo naman yung 182, these are spread out into 23 facilities, no, laboratories. So yun nga, it's very hard, no, because yung 182 yung nag-positive, hindi pa yung na-expose sa kanila. So it really created a big dent in the operation of the different facilities. And yes, the DOH and of course the Cebu City government, we are into recruitment, but unfortunately, very few, no, took the challenge, no. Like it's really a challenge for us to recruit more nurses. Yes, we have around 72% yung occupancy namin sa aming COVID ward, but then the remaining 20 plus, it's not because they are not yet occupied. Yes, the beds are there, but we have no medical personnel to man them. So it's really a challenge. In fact, there are some hospitals as we speak right now, patients are still lining up outside. And just today, Red Cross arrived, and then we're going to put up some tents, yung modern tent nila with aircon and everything. So we're going to put up around 6 of them in the different hospitals, and that could also augment the conditions of those patients that are outside the emergency room. It's really a challenge. It's really a challenge, and our hospitals are really overwhelmed. But I could see our frontliners are really moving heaven and earth to attend to the patient. Then, so we just pray that everything will subside in the coming days ahead.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Joel Garganera. He is head of Cebu City's Emergency Operations Center. The situation in Cebu is only a portion of the ongoing infection surge in the Philippines. Tonight's big number is 12,021. This is the number of new COVID-19 cases reported today. This is the highest daily caseload since April. Positivity rate also jumped to 21.9%. That means 1 in every 5 Filipinos tested are testing positive for the virus. Tests conducted barely breached 40,000. Hospital occupancy nationwide, meanwhile, is nearing moderate risk level at 58.3%. As of last week, 450 cases of the Delta variant have been detected in total. And these are the other big stories tonight. It's day 1 of the distribution of cash aid in Metro Manila. Even Manila City, believed to be the subject of President Duterte's ire the other night, started releasing dole outs. No more 7-day quarantine for the fully vaccinated close contacts of confirmed cases. The IATF has suspended the policy in hope of slowing down the surge in COVID-19 infections. And the beauty clinic takes down its ad after a heavy backlash over its latest advertisement showing a woman's transformation during the COVID-19 pandemic. These big stories after the break. Distribution of government cash assistance begins today. Beneficiaries and distributors across NCR are more or less getting the hang of it after previous payouts. JC Cosico tells us how exactly distribution has gone in some cities.
Cash aid recipients were early birds in Barangay San Isidro in Parañaque City. Even Jordan, who has difficulty walking, patiently waited for the payout. He says the 3,000 peso cash he'll receive is already a lot after he lost his job as a masseur.
Yung wala pa isip ko, nakakatulong po yung pag-massage ko. Nung may trabaho po ako, nakakatulong po ako sa mga pambayad sa sa mga bayad kuryente, tubig. Ngayon po? Ngayon po, wala po.
Problems of missing names and the beneficiary list were also present. The city has a grievance committee to handle such matters.
Mga nakaraan po, after 5 days, nagagawa naman po ng paraanan ng city. As long as na sila po ay qualified na makatanggap po ng ayuda.
Parañaque City received over 500 million pesos for the ECQ ayuda, enough for around 139,000 households. Distributions are scheduled to avoid crowding. In San Juan City, only 100 beneficiaries are allowed inside the payout center per hour. The LGU also had an inoculation site present so that unvaccinated beneficiaries may also get their jab. Over in Quezon City, beneficiaries didn't mind the drizzle just to get the promised cash assistance.
Kasi nadala na kami. Last na kuhaan nito, yung 4 din yun eh. Yung last na nagpila kami dito, pumila kami sa tamang oras namin. 1 o'clock. Nakauwi kami. Alas 3 na ng madaling araw.
Some residents favor the current payout system.
Hindi ka tulad ng last time na pero ngayon maganda na ang flow kasi ang mga tao ngayon natuto na rin na mag-social distancing tapos may face shield, face mask.
Around 80,000 individuals are eligible to receive cash aid in Barangay Old Balara. The list is alphabetical and payouts are done by batches. The DSWD says LGUs have 15 days to finish the distribution of ayuda. LGUs may request for an extension.
Alam naman natin, merong mga malalaking mga syudad ang number compared sa mga iba.
LGUs also have the discretion to continue payouts beyond curfew hours, but health protocols must be ensured. For News 5, JC Cosico, VR1 News.
Manila also started its ayuda distribution earlier despite President Duterte's obvious insinuations against Mayor Isko Moreno. Duterte had earlier ordered the Social Welfare Department to take over distributions from a disorderly NCR LGU. Still, Moreno thanked the President and the DILG as the capital handed out ayuda to some 380,000 Manileños. He also gave a shout-out to the city's social workers.
Binigyan ng pagkilala ang inyong lingkod. Pero sa totoo, kayo itong gumawa nito. Mga social welfare natin. Gabi, umuulan, madilim, bagyo, iskinita.
And here are other developments on the country's COVID-19 situation. The Health Department maintains that it is observing utmost transparency in handling billions of taxpayers' money. That's after the Commission on Audit found deficiencies over the agency's management of COVID response funds. The DOH said the COA flagged deficiencies amounting to 67 billion pesos have been accounted for. This supposedly would include 5 million pesos of undocumented purchases, contractless COVID appropriations worth 11.9 billion pesos, 69.9 million peso unused medical equipment, 275.9 million pesos in cash allowances and groceries without legal basis, and unaccounted 1.4 billion pesos in-kind donations. Meanwhile, the Philippines will receive 20,000 oxygen tanks abroad, according to the Trade Department. The DOH earlier said the country will need at least 175,000 tanks to address the threat of the Delta variant. DTI Secretary Mon Lopez insists the Philippines has stable oxygen supply. And while questions linger over the handling of COVID-19 funds, the government is still struggling to find a budget for the hiring of additional contact tracers. Current contact tracing efforts are only halfway from hitting bare minimum despite the Delta variant threat. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to this story.
The head of the country's contact tracing effort says we urgently need to hire more contact tracers if we want to stand a chance against the highly contagious Delta variant.
Yung contact trace kasi will also dictate yung number of tests. Ang dapat na standard is 1:15. Pero ang ginagawa mo lang is 1:3. So meaning, out of the 12, meron kang isa dyan na potentially infected. Roaming around the streets, and potentially infecting other people.
Magalong admits we won't be hiring more contact tracers anytime soon. The priority had been to keep our existing contact tracers whose employment contracts had been in danger with the expiry of the funds from the Bayanihan 2.
Malabo yun kasi ngayon kung doon sa 15,000 nga, hirap na hirap tayong maghanap ng pondo.
Former Health Secretary Esperanza Cabral says there is no excuse.
It is going to remain the weakest link in our healthcare system for COVID.
The DOH says a contact tracer should track down at least 36 close contacts, but this was brought down to a more manageable 1:15. But we aren't hitting even that. We're only hitting a ratio of 1 tracer for every 7 close contacts.
Of course, he has an excuse that he lacks funds, but maybe what he should have done was have a louder voice asking for these funds.
Cabral says the backlog in contact tracing results in problems down the line. If close contacts are not traced and then tested, they end up crowding the hospitals when they finally show symptoms.
That means long lines of people or cars in front of the emergency room. At yung mga talagang nangangailangan ng tulong.
Magalong says the government is considering tapping the uniformed services to beef up contact tracing efforts. This means members of the AFP, PNP, and Bureau of Fire may be trained as contact tracers too. I'm Jacob Lazaro and we are One News.
Let's take a look at some of the biggest stories in sports. Manny Pacquiao's anticipated showdown with Errol Spence Jr. is off after the American suffered a torn retina in his left eye. The eye injury was discovered during a pre-fight medical examination by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. WBA welterweight champion Yordenis Ugas will replace Spence and defend his title against Pacquiao come August 21. After an impressive Olympic stint, Yuka Saso has moved up 2 places in the women's world golf rankings. Let's all recall that Saso ended her Olympic debut at the 9th with 4 others. Saso, the reigning U.S. Women's Open champion, moved up in the Rolex rankings after averaging 5.73. She amassed 200.39 points in 34 events this year. It's official, Paris Saint-Germain has confirmed the signing of Lionel Messi after the Argentinian's contract at FC Barcelona expired earlier this summer. Messi signed a 2-year contract with the Ligue 1 side with the option of extending for a further year. The arrival of Messi will boost the French team's ambitions to win the prestigious European Champions League for the first time. And it's time for another quick break. When we return, as cases continue to surge, the IATF has suspended the shortened quarantine for fully vaccinated close contacts. And it may still be weird for a commercial, but Belo Medical Group's pandemic effect ad earned the ire of netizens, prompting the beauty clinic to take down the commercial. And this just in, there are reports of an explosion and fire in Bonifacio Global City at around 7:30 p.m. tonight. We'll get the details after the break. Good evening, you're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. A developing story now from Taguig. An explosion leading to a fire incident was reported at 21st Drive in BGC. Video sent to us shows an explosion going off at a construction site in the area. Initial reports from Taguig City says the fire has reached first alarm and involves a gas explosion. We're still trying to verify and get more details on this. Meanwhile, close contacts of COVID cases have to observe a complete 14-day quarantine even if they are fully vaccinated. But the health department says this may not be enough to arrest the surge in cases. Greg Gregorio with the details.
The IATF has suspended the shortened quarantine period of fully vaccinated individuals who are close contacts of probable or confirmed COVID-19 cases. From 7 days, they are now required to undergo a mandatory 14-day quarantine period. This is part of the government's efforts to slow down the spread of the more transmissible COVID-19 variants. The health department added that the shortened quarantine period is no longer enough amid the Delta variant threat.
Yung viral load po ng isang bakunado ay the same lang with that of the unvaccinated kapag Delta variant po ang nakapanghawa sa kanya.
Vergere adds that as for precaution, we should all assume that there is already a community transmission of the highly infectious Delta variant. The DOH has flagged 41 areas nationwide that are now under alert level 4. This means that more than 70% of COVID hospital beds in these LGUs are already occupied. Despite this, the Octa Research Group has reported that the infection rate in Metro Manila has dropped to 1.74 from 1.80 last August 8. However, Octa has clarified that this has to be monitored in the coming days. Vergere warns that active cases may reach nearly 60,000 by the end of September if quarantine restrictions are relaxed after August 20. Active cases in the region may reach 42,000 if ECQ will be extended for another week, then MECQ in the next 2 weeks. But active cases may just be at around 15,000 if ECQ will be extended for 3 more weeks. However, the DOH admits there is still a need to balance the country's health and economy.
Ang pinaka-importante, kaya natin ginagawa ang lockdown for us to buy time para mas ma-prepare natin ang health system. Pero hindi naman din pwedeng lockdown tayo forever. Dahil hirap ng ekonomiya, marami na rin nagugutom.
The health department has time and again said that COVID numbers may still go up with or without lockdowns. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Gigil is at it again with an eccentric ad. This time for the Belo Medical Group. But instead of amuse or wonder, the ad sparked anger. In pandemic effect, a conventionally attractive woman is watching news about the ever-worsening public health crisis. In seconds, she develops eye bags, grows facial and body hair, experiences acne breakout, and gains weight. Then Belo's message comes out. Tough times call for beautiful measures. Netizens were quick to criticize the ad for being insensitive and tone-deaf against women and everyone with health issues and physical insecurities. They also pointed out that the real pandemic effects are unemployment, COVID deaths, poor government response, and mental health concerns. Belo has since deleted the ad and apologized, vowing to commit themselves to learning from the upsetting incident. Nick Garcia, We Are One News.
Life as a medic, it's fantastic. A Filipino-blooded doctor was among 6 Asian American medical frontliners honored with a Barbie doll created in their image. Audrey Cruz of Las Vegas was recognized by Barbie for her tremendous sacrifices during the pandemic. Barbie said Cruz and others also displayed unprecedented courage in fighting racial bias and discrimination. The 29-year-old doctor and mother hopes her doll will be able to represent women of color and working mothers everywhere. Cruz grew up in Honolulu, Hawaii, then moved to Las Vegas with her Filipino mother. She obtained her electrical engineering degree at the University of Nevada before taking up medicine in the same university. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. Sa ngalan po ni Gretchen Ho, ako po si Robbie Alampay. We are One News. Good evening.